Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. The time has finally come for us to be able to talk about the next chapter or the next installment to the Alien franchise, and this is of course Alien Romulus. And essentially this movie, as far as I could tell from just what I read online, googling it and stuff, this movie I believe takes place between the first and second movies. So between the original, which was simply called Alien, and the second movie I think, which was simply called Aliens, plural. I believe the original came out in 79 and Aliens came out I think in 86 roughly, and this movie apparently takes place in between. So how was the movie? Is it a good Alien movie? Was it a good story in general? Well, I'm sort of on the fence with this one, not because I don't think that the horror aspects of this movie are not there. I did think that whenever this movie really went for the horror aspects, I actually thought that it did quite well. There were some very horrific scenes, some very horrifying scenes, so it is a horror movie when it tries to be, but I do feel like most of the horror that you really see in the movie really came from the trailers, because I feel like the movie, by the time you get to the third act, almost transitions into something different. I feel like it almost goes from like a horror movie almost to more of like an action movie, so to speak, and whatnot. And I also kind of felt like this movie, during different segments, could have almost, if to me it felt like it almost had different endings. Like it could have ended at like an hour and 20 minutes, maybe could have ended at like an hour and 40 minutes, but then it went on. I think once the credits started to roll, it was roughly around an hour and 51 minutes. So I feel like the movie could have actually ended a couple times, but it didn't. So I did feel the length to this movie. In terms of performances, I thought that Kaylee Spaney, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name correctly, so I apologize if I'm butchering it, but I feel like Kaylee did a great job with her performance. She was definitely a standout, as well as David Johnson, who portrays the character known as Andy. And I thought that Archie Renaud did okay, but he still wasn't quite as strong, I didn't think, as Kaylee and David Johnson. So I did think that those two performances did very well. But as for everybody else, I wasn't really able to connect with any of the characters really. Even with Andy and Rain, I still didn't really connect with them really all that much either. I just feel like the actors gave a good performance. So I did think that the movie was good in the horror aspects when it wanted to be. The biggest complaint that I have with this movie is that I wish there was more of the horror aspect. I kind of wish that they would have stuck with that horror that you sort of see like in, sort of like the beginning of the second act, so to speak, when we first start to be introduced to the alien itself, the first time that this new group of characters start to interact with this alien being. I really enjoyed those aspects of it, but then I feel like as the movie progressed, it became very grandeur. I also don't really know what was up with all these characters being so young. I don't know why there wasn't at least one older character, that was a part of the team, so to speak. I feel like it was just like a bunch of kids, almost like a bunch of teenagers that were going on this crazy space expedition, and then they end up running into Romulus, which was the name of the space station. And I will say as well that in the very first act, when the movie opens, I was pretty interested in the whole intergalactic, so to speak, aspect of the movie. This felt like it was actually like a space movie, not just a horror alien type movie, but I actually felt like they were a part of this greater galactic universe, because it actually starts with them being on a certain planet or a certain star or moon, and it actually comes up with like how many people lived on it, like the population, how many days of sunlight. I think it said they get 0 sunlight. So I really like that aspect of it. It really made the Alien franchise feel grand, feel bigger, almost like we're exploring a different part of the universe or a different part of the world before going into the story. But then, like I said, I thought that the first act was really dragged out. I think it came to somewhere between 33 and 37 minutes, which is a little broad, but it was somewhere between 33 and 37 minutes, I think, before we actually get our first actual interaction with one of the aliens, or with a type of alien or whatever. And so I did feel like that part dragged on a little bit. And then once we got away from the action, sort of the horror aspects, and it become almost more of like an action sequence, so to speak, I did feel like that part of it got a little bit dragged on. I did think that the CGI was pretty good for the most part. There were a couple little scenes that I did feel were a little cartoonish, but I did think that for the most part the CGI looked pretty well, especially the close-up shots. I thought they actually looked better than some of the wide shots and whatnot. But I will give credit when credit's due. We are introduced to sort of this very weird, very strange new type of alien, and that's all I'll say, because this is a spoiler-free review. I will try to get my spoiler review out sometime between tomorrow and Sunday, but I will be doing an open spoiler review with this one, where we break down scene by scene and I show clips, which I'll have to get online, which will probably be crappy cam versions, but that's it. That's all I can get right now. The movie's not out on digital and it's not out. I can't get a HD copy of it, but so when I do my breakdown, it'll probably be crappy screenshots. But anyways, you get what I'm saying. So I was very intrigued with what they did with this sort of, all I'll say was that it's this new species of alien, and it was sort of like a hybrid, and I really liked it. And I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they did do some callbacks to the Prometheus movie as well, or maybe even Alien Covenant, I think, or maybe Prometheus. One of them, they do mention Prometheus, the actual word Prometheus, in this one, so I can't quite remember, but I did really like that new aspect of this new type of alien, this new hybrid alien type thing. I really liked that part of it. I thought that was really cool, but I almost wish that they had have stuck with that. I feel like that part of the, like, that new alien, so to speak, was only in the movie for, like, you know, maybe like 15 or 20 minutes in total, and I feel like they should have maybe focused on that. Like, the movie could have been just about that one new type of species. I think that would have been very interesting and all of that cool stuff. So in terms of actual story, was it an actual good movie? I would probably say no. It was a pretty basic, pretty generic, almost non-existent in terms of story, actual story itself. However, was it a good Alien movie? Well, it definitely was not my favorite. I would still say the original Alien was better. I think Alien 2, which was simply called Aliens, I thought that was better. I do think that I probably enjoyed Prometheus better, and I would put it maybe along the lines of Alien Covenant, or maybe a little bit worse. I'm on the fence right now. I've only seen the movie once. I probably will see it again before I do my spoiler breakdown. But as of right now, I would say it's kind of tied with like Alien Covenant maybe. But I definitely like the original more. I definitely like Prometheus more, and I definitely liked Aliens more. And even Alien 3 wasn't terrible, but you know, I do think that I almost, maybe I should actually watch them all and then rank them, but it definitely wasn't the worst Alien movie by far. I don't think it was the worst Alien movie that was ever done or anything like that. You know, I did like it more than like Alien vs. Predator and those movies, but you know, it definitely wasn't the best either. I love the horror aspects. When they went for it, they really went for it, and it worked. But I didn't like how little the horror aspects were in it. I feel like it was only in there during a certain, you know, a certain part of the film, and then they sort of move on from that, and then it becomes almost like this action sequence, which I didn't care about the sort of action part of it. I didn't care about the first probably 30 minutes of it, because, you know, I feel like they spent all this time trying to build up this world with these characters that I feel like I've never actually related to. But I do think that Kaylee and David Johnson gave a great performance. So, like I said, this was not my favorite Alien movie, and it wasn't my least favorite. I would say it was like average for an Alien movie, but in terms of just a movie in general, it wasn't that great of a movie. The story wasn't that great, but it was still fun to be in this world again. If I had to put a number on Alien Romulus, I'd probably give this like a 60, maybe 65 if I'm being a little generous, but I wouldn't go beyond 65. I would say it's somewhere between the 60 and 65%, but all these things are subjective. Maybe you liked it more than me, maybe you liked it less than me, but I think for me, in my opinion, and I think for me, I would give it probably at least a 60%. But anyways, folks, that's my review of Alien Romulus. So let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click the subscribe button. And until the next one, take care.